So I remember a few years ago, I was working with this client who was a former Olympic gold medalist. Very accomplished. That's a tremendous feat. And I was prompting her to say, I noticed that you're not using that in your marketing materials. And she's running a fitness studio and she's having won a gold medalist in gymnastics. Wouldn't that kind of correlate? Like, don't you want to capitalize on that? And she had so much pushback for me. It was like she just was absolutely adamant that she shouldn't use that, that that's not what it's about. And, all of these things of really, downplaying this amazing accomplishment that she's had in her life and not being willing to use that to promote her business. Now, here's the interesting thing is that when we dig in, when we start to look at what's going on, what is behind the scenes, why doesn't she want to use it, beyond the logical reasons, which to me don't seem very logical. I mean, you have something that correlates with what you're doing, it makes sense, and it speaks to who you are. It speaks to the fact that you are a driven person, you are willing to put in the energy, the time, and the effort it takes to achieve your goals. That's what it says. And so her not willing to use that to promote her space, her fitness studio, seems really odd. But for her, there was always this lack of feeling accomplished, which seems really crazy. I mean, here's a gold medalist. You would think that they would feel accomplished. And yet the deeper pieces, the deeper wounds around feeling accomplished and what it means to feel accomplished were not being satisfied. She didn't feel she had the right to claim that, to use that, and she felt it was like slimy and smarmy to use something that was in the past. And this is the interesting thing, that when we have issues going on, when we have resistances to using what we have, using what our actual talents are, that usually speaks to something deeper, something that's going on the subconscious level, that there is some sort of internal programming that says, no, don't do that. You don't deserve to use that. You're not good enough. And, all of these interesting lies. We've talked about this before, the interesting lies that your subconscious mind tells you to stop you from being able to achieve the things that you want to achieve the success. When we're talking about business, when we talk about business and our marketing, we need to lean in. We need to lean in a way that says, this is who I am and this is what I've done and this is why you should listen to me. So for me, I know in my journey, having built a 7-figure business, it was one of the things that I was like, I'm not sure I should, talk about that. I kind of felt like, I didn't really, I totally understood with my client that with the gold medalist, it was like, well, I downplayed it so much. I had things going on. I'm like, no. And so it was a few years before I was really willing to lean in and say, yeah, you know what? I did do that. It's maybe not the typical route. And, in my mind, I'm like, that should have been a way bigger business. It should have been 10 times the size. All of these things, the crazy ideas in my head that caused me to say I didn't have the right to claim something that was absolutely true. And this is what we do to ourselves when we are still running these patterns and programs of doubt and feeling like, I'm a fraud and who am I? Who am I to say that? That imposter syndrome that people talk about comes from these deeper programs that get set up in the body, that get set up in our system, that tell us the lies, that we need to play small, we need to dial it back, oh, well, people will come because of who I am now. I don't need to talk about what I was in the past. And yet the reality is like for me, so I'm in the business coaching world. For me, it's more the mindset and the consciousness. But having achieved a 7-figure business says something to the people who are potentially thinking about working with me, in that I've done it. I've, done it, so to speak, right? Like I've been through things of having staff and running inventory and managing a space. And so there's experience and there's wisdom. And do I know everything? No. Do I know a lot? Yes. I've learned a lot, and I've learned a lot through coaching other people who also run, multiple 6-figure and 7-figure businesses, and seeing the challenges and seeing the structures. And all of those things are valid. All of those things are important for people to know. And it's not until I did my deeper inner work that I was willing to claim that. I had to work through my pieces around feeling like that's not okay. So of course for me, I grew up in a cult, and in that there was a real negative connotation about being boastful, about having money. And that set up a real dynamic for me where it wasn't okay for me to lean into these successes and really, put them out there in a way that is authentic. I'm not doing it as like, hey, look at me, I'm so good, right? It's not that kind of situation, but people need to know that you have the experience. They need to know that you have something to bring to the table when you're going to work with them. So if you find that you are not leaning into these pieces, then we want to take a look at what are the internal beliefs. What is that? So grab a piece of paper, grab a journal, something, and you want to start writing down. I'm not allowed to claim my success because. There's your prompt. Write it out. Start looking at what are the lies that your subconscious mind is telling you? And for some of the small ones, you can just call it out for what it is. That's a lie. What if I didn't have to believe that? What if I didn't have to keep having that as a reality now and move forward? And then the bigger ones, reach out. Let's get things deconstructed, deprogrammed, and get you set in a way that allows you to claim who you really are, stand in your expertise, and show the world your brilliance. Head over to bookdana.in and let's have a conversation.